Allah, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate. Fatima al-Zahra, the daughter of the Prophet, peace be on them, is to have thus related an event. My father, the Prophet of Allah, came to my house one day and said to me, "Peace be on you, Fatima." I replied, "And upon you be peace." Then he said, "I feel weakness in my body." I said, "Allah protects you from weakness, father." He said, "Fatima, please bring the Yemeni cloak and cover me with it." So I brought the Yemeni cloak and covered him with it. Then I looked at him and saw that his face was shining like a full moon with its glory and splendor. Allahumma salli. After a while, my son Hassan came in and said, "Peace be on you, mother." I replied, "And upon you be peace, O light of my eyes and the delight of my heart." He then said, "Mother, I smell a fragrance so sweet and so pure as that of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, your grandfather is lying underneath the cloak." Hassan went near the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you be peace, my son and the master of the fountain Kawthar. You are given the permission to enter." So Hassan entered the cloak with him. Allahumma salli. After a while, my son Hussein came in and said, "Peace be on you, mother." I replied, "And upon you be peace, O light of my eyes and the delight of my heart." He then said, "Mother, I smell a fragrance like that of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, your grandfather and your brother are lying underneath the cloak." Hussein stepped towards the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, my grandfather, the chosen of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you be peace, my son and the interceder of my followers. You are given the permission to enter." So Hussein entered the cloak with them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. After a while, Abul Hassan Ali ibn Abi Talib came in and said, "Peace be on you, O daughter of the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "And upon you be peace, O father of Hassan and the commander of the faithful." He then said, "Fatima, I smell a sweet fragrance like that of my brother, my cousin, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, he is underneath the cloak with your two sons." So Ali went near the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you be peace, my brother, my legatee, my successor, and my standard bearer. You are given the permission to enter." So Ali entered the cloak with them. Allah. Then I stepped forward and said, "Peace be on you, my father, O Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you be peace, my daughter, O part of myself. You are given the permission to enter." So I entered the cloak with them. Allahumma salli ala. Getting together underneath the cloak, my father, the Prophet of Allah, held the two ends of the cloak and raised his right hand toward the heavens and prayed, "O Allah, these are the people of my household, the Ahlul Bayt. They are my confidants and my supporters. Their flesh is my flesh, and their blood is my blood. Whoever hurts them hurts me too. Whoever displeases them displeased me too. I am at war with those at war with them. I am at peace with those at peace with them. I am the enemy of their enemies, and I am the friend of their friends. They are from me, and I am from them. O Allah, bestow your blessings, benevolence, forgiveness, and your pleasure upon me and upon them, and remove impurity from them and keep them thoroughly pure." Then the Lord Almighty Allah said, "O my angels, O residents of my heavens, verily I have not created the erected sky, the stretched earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for the love of these five lying underneath the cloak." Gabriel, the trusted angel, asked, "Who are under the cloak?" The Almighty answered, "They are the household of the Prophet and the assets of prophethood. They are Fatima, her father, her husband, and her two sons." Allahumma. Gabriel said, "O Lord, may I fly to earth to be the sixth of them?" Allah replied, "Yes, you are given the permission." Gabriel, the trusted, landed near them and said, "Peace be on you, O Prophet of Allah. The All-Highest conveys His peace on you and His greetings and says, by my honor and glory, O my angels, O residents of my heavens, verily I have not created the erected sky, the stretched earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for your sake and love. God has given me the permission to enter the cloak with you. May I join you, O Prophet of Allah? The Prophet replied, and upon you be peace. O trusted bearer of Allah's revelations, you are given the permission to enter. So Gabriel entered the cloak with us and said to my father, Allah sends His revelations to you. Verily, Allah's desire to remove blemish from you, O people of household, and purify you with a perfect purification. Allahumma. Then Ali said to my father, O Prophet of Allah, tell me what significance has Allah given for getting together underneath the cloak? The Prophet replied, by Him who rightfully appointed me a prophet and chose me a messenger for the salvation of the mankind. Whenever and wherever an assembly of our followers and friends mention this event, Allah will bestow on them His blessings and mercy. Angels will encircle them, asking Allah for the remission of their sins until the assembly disperse. So Ali said, verily, by the Lord of the Kaaba, we and our followers are the winners. Allahumma. Then my father replied, by Him who rightfully appointed me a prophet and chose me a messenger for the salvation of the mankind, whenever and wherever an assembly of our followers and friends mention this event, there shall be none grieved, but Allah will remove His grief. There shall remain none distressed, but Allah will dispel his stress. There shall remain none wish-seeker, but Allah will grant his wish. Ali happily said, verily, by the Lord of the Kaaba, we and our followers are the winners and the blessed, in this world and the next. Allah.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you, Brother Wasi, for that wonderful edition of Hadith Qissa. Now I'd like to request Brother Shabir to come up and read a short salam. Salawat for Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Stay. Your mother wants you to smile. Stay. You leave her to cry and wail. Stay. You leave her to cry and wail. My son Al-Qasim. My son Al-Qasim. Qasim, I am your uncle and this is my battle. Qasim, tell me the yearning for death, why do you feel? Qasim, this is my tragedy, this is my trial. Qasim, don't let me hear another mother's wail. Qasim, don't let me hear another mother's wail. Stay, on me your mother's tears hail. Stay, you leave her to cry and wail. Stay, you leave her to cry and wail. My son Al-Qasim. My son Al-Qasim. Listen, she's a mother and every mother's the same. Listen, every day of your wedding, your mother dreams. Listen, if this dream of hers impossible became, Listen, her heart would ache every time she heard your name. Listen, her heart would ache every time she heard your name. Stay, daily she'd recall this tale. Stay, you leave her to cry and wail. Stay, you leave her to cry and wail. My son, Al-Qasim. My son, Al-Qasim. You go wearing your father's armor and his turban. You go whilst your mother prepares for you a coffin. You go, she throws every marriage thought and dream. You go, her dreams die and become a tribulation. You go, her dreams die and become a tribulation. Stay is something she cries out, why? Stay, you leave her to cry and wail. Stay, you leave her to cry and wail. My son, Al-Qasim. My son, Al-Qasim. Tell me, your eyes, they see a part that before you bleeds. Tell me, is it your martyrdom or your mother's dreams? Tell me, for her emotions, what shall tomorrow deem? Tell me, will tears of joy or of grief from her eyes stream? Tell me, will tears of joy or of grief from her eyes stream? Stay, her heart is caught in a gale. Stay, you leave her to cry and wail. Stay, you leave her to cry and wail. My son, Al-Qasim. My son, Al-Qasim. My son, Al-Qasim. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'd like to request all of you to kindly please move forward. So we have proper Majlis etiquette. We don't have all this space in the middle. Please kindly move forward as much as possible so we have proper Majlis etiquette. Thank you so much. Please also turn your cell phones on silent so we don't disturb the Majlis as it's going on. And now, without further ado, I'd like to request Sheikh Cherri to take the member. Salawat wa Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your deeds and accept your service for the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam and your service to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. Of course, we're all in need of the mercy of Allah and the acceptance of the Messenger of Allah and the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt. This Majlis was sponsored on the arwah of the following marhumin: Sayyid Muhammad Rila Zaidi, Sayyid Jamil Zaidi, Sayyid Muhammad Abid, Sayyid Muhammad Ata Rizvi, and Sayyida Ma'suma Begum. And all the marhumin, we send the rewards of this majlis with the rewards of Al-Fatiha wa salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah. وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله غريب مظلوم كربلاء يا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. I want to share a poem with you tonight, just a segment of this poem. The original poem is in Arabic. I'm not going to read it all, but this is a very special poem because the author of this poem was an individual who wrote it for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and he presented it to his father who was a scholar. And his father told him, he presented it to him to check it, whether he should read it on the minbar or not. And the name of the poem became known as Al-Qasida Al-Maqbula, the accepted poem. Because this person's father told him this is too difficult to recite on the minbar. So he advised him not to give it to the shuyukh and the sayyids to recite it. One day, a scholar who recites majalis came to the door of this individual. And he knocked the door and he told him that I saw in my dream last night Imam Ali alayhi salam reciting this line of poetry. And the Sheikh, he looked at the poem of his son and said, this is exactly the poem that my son had written. So he knew that Imam Ali alayhi salam had accepted this poem from him. And it became known as Al-Qasida Al-Maqbula, the accepted poem. To get the blessings of this poem that we know that the Imam alayhi salam had accepted and wished to be recited on the minbar, I want to just take a few lines of it in Arabic and I'll translate it for you inshallah. قد أوهنا يا جلد الديار الخالية من أهلها يا مال الديار وماليا. He says, the empty homes have weakened my resolve. What have the homes to do with me, and what have I to do with them? ومتى سألت الدار عن أربابها يعيد الصدايا منها سؤالي الثانية. And whenever I ask the home about its people, he's talking about the home of Rasulullah. Whenever I ask the home about its inhabitants, its echo repeated the question back to me, indicating that the homes that were once filled with Rasulullah and his family have now become emptied. When he asked the home, where are your inhabitants? All he hears back is an echo of the question coming back to him. كانت غياثا للمنوب فأصبحت لجميع النوائب He says that once refuge for the worn in times of care. This house was the refuge for those who were suffering. Anybody who had a hardship, anybody who had pain and suffering, used to come to this house to remove his suffering and his pain and refuge. But now, what happened to this house? It became the house of suffering, the house of pain, and the house of hardship. وَمَعَالِمٌ أَضْحَتْ مَآتِمَ لَا تَرَى فيها سوى ناع يجاوب ناعيا. And landmarks have become places of mourning, where you see nothing but a mourner answering another mourner. This is how the house has become. One person mourning, responding to another person who is mourning as well. ورد الحسين إلى العراق وظنهم تركوا النفاق إلى العراق كما هي قست القلوب فلم تمل لهداية تبا لهاتيك القلوب Hussein came to Iraq thinking that they had abandoned their hypocrisy. But he went there to see that Iraq was as it had been. He called them to accept his call, and he responded to them. And he called them to guidance, but they rejected the one who called them. The hearts had hardened and did not incline towards guidance. Perish those hardened hearts. He did not taste the water of the Euphrates before he died, thirsty, and was washed in crimson blood. O son of the chosen prophet and his successor, and brother of the pure one, son of the pure Batul, my eyes weep for you, not for the sake of reward, but rather my eyes weep for you because I'm saddened over you. Karbala is soaked with your blood, yet it is not soaked with my flowing tears. Your calamity made us forget the tragedies that had passed and made light of the tragedies to come. He says that your calamity, O Hussein, makes me forget all my calamities. Whenever I have a hardship, I remember yours, I forget my own hardships. Whenever I have pain, I remember your pain, I forget my own pain. And he says that all calamities will go off one day. He says the disasters and calamities of the days remain for a time and then they go away. But your calamity, O Hussein, will remain until the day of resurrection. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Last night we began by speaking about the companion of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Kumayd ibn Ziyad. I gave a very brief introduction about this individual and spoke about the different levels of companionship. Some of the Imam's companions were the bearers of their secrets. They reached the high level of closeness and even kinship to the Imams alayhim salam, because wilaya is not only spread by the outer world, it's a spiritual state. One of the companions, Salman al-Muhammadi, he was known to be a very close companion to the Prophet and to the Imams alayhim salam, to the point that the Prophet said about him that Salman is from us Ahlul Bayt. This is the This is the station that he had reached. He reached a high level that he became regarded as part of the Ahlul Bayt. Of course, not as one of the Imams, but his lofty station brought him close to them so that he became associated with them. Not everybody was called Minna Ahlul Bayt, from us Ahlul Bayt. Only certain individuals were called that, which means that people can differ in their level of spirituality and proximity to the Imams. And we know that wilaya is the batin of Tawheed, the inner reality of Tawheed. Tawheed has an outer aspect and an inner aspect. The inner aspect is the infinite levels of absolute perfection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we call wilaya. The closer you get to Allah, the higher you get, the higher in the level of wilaya that you raise, and you go up and you become proximate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Salman was one of these individuals. Kumayl ibn Ziyad was another individual who used to receive these secrets from Imam Ali alayhi salam. He has such a lofty status. And each and every one of us over here is able to reach such a level. If you get closer to the Imams alayhim salam by building a connection with them. And I don't mean an outer connection, but rather an inner and deep connection, a spiritual connection. One of the ulama in Qum, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prolong his life, his recommendation for those who cannot find a local scholar or a master or a teacher that can take them on the spiritual path, he says that one recommended thing that they can do, or rather two, is to recite al-Ziyara al-Jami' al-Kabira every single day, and to recite Ziyarat Ashura for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. These two will help the individual get closer to the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and they will take with his hands and they will bring them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are things that we have to understand. Our Imams are living. They didn't just die and there's no more connection to them. No. They just transferred to the next world. And we have an Imam who is a living Imam. He is present amongst us. Even though physically we might not see him, but spiritually he is there. And spiritual presence is much stronger than physical presence. That's why when you sit down and you talk to somebody, you might not be so affected by their outer physical appearance, but internally you feel that they're a good person or not. They could be someone who's very well dressed, very well decorated, but they come close to you and you get a feeling of unease. Or someone who's not very well dressed, someone that on the appearance doesn't look so good, but when they come close to you, you feel this person has such a good heart. I don't know why. I've never spoken to this individual, but I have a good feeling about this person. This tells us that the spiritual aspect is more important than the outer. So our connection with the Imam has to be a spiritual one, not just focusing on the outer aspect. Say salam to the Imam responds to you. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us, Allahumma salli ala that whoever sends upon me his salam, I hear it and I respond to him. That doesn't mean that salam is just a word that I say. Salam has to come from the heart. When you connect with an individual, you connect from your heart. The salam, the word that we say in our mouth, is just an expression that signifies the meaning of the heart. When I say Assalamu alaikum, it means peace be upon you. It could be a word, but the word means literally, I am sending my peace upon you. It's supposed to be an internal feeling. So when you read ziyarah, when you read salam to Rasulullah after salat, before salat, if you recite that, make sure it comes from your heart, not only from your tongue. Imagine Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt standing in front of you, and you are saying, Salamu alayka Rasulullah, Salamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'minin, Salamu ala al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, Salamu Hussein al-Shaheed bi Karbala. All of this from your heart to the Imam, knowing with certitude that the response is coming back to you. The Imam tells us, yaqeen, certitude is very important. If you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with yaqeen, with certainty that He will answer you, your prayer will be accepted. In terms of physical ailments as well, the Imam says, when I give you a prescription for medicine, he tells the individual, when you take this medication, have yaqeen that Allah will cure you and it will cure you. If you have doubt, it will not cure you. So yaqeen is very important. When you say salam to the Imams and the Prophet, don't have doubts. If you have doubts, the spiritual connection is not going to happen. You have to have certainty, you have to have certitude. When you do that, you send your salams to the Imam one day after the other, after the other, after the other, you realize your connection with them becomes stronger. You don't understand how. To the point where if you hear the names of the Imams, your tears automatically begin to flow. This signifies that you have a connection with them. And this is only done if you remember them every single day and you communicate with them as if they are present with you, because they truly are. It's just that the veils are hiding this from us. The angels are present. Do we see them? We don't see them. Just because we don't see them, it doesn't mean they're not there. They're not doing what they're doing, what they have to do. Everything in this existence is being run by their presence, but we just don't see them. And this is why the philosophers of Islam say that Adam al-wujud or Adam al-wujdan la yadullu ala Adam al-wujud. If I don't know something or I don't see something, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So just because I don't see it with my eyes, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. As Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam tells us that every human being has two pairs of eyes. Eyes on the outside, which he sees the physical world with, and another pair in his heart. With this eye, or with these eyes, he sees the unseen, the ghaib, the things that are not physical, the metaphysical are seen with that. So we have to understand that as human beings, we have two aspects to ourselves. We have the physical aspect, which we have the five senses that control us, and we have the internal senses, which we are not very aware of. And we spend most of our life working just with the outer senses. We ignore the inner senses. What we have to do is we have to strengthen those inner senses. If you neglect it, you're going to forget about it, and eventually you won't even believe that it exists. But if you strengthen it, you're going to begin to see and realize things, and it will inform you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give you signs that this other world exists as well. But you have to work on it. So Kumail was one of those individuals who the Imam alayhi salam had raised. He was his master, and Kumail was the disciple. The dua Kumail was a special dua that the Imam received from Al-Khidr alayhi salam. Al-Khidr, according to some ulama, was a prophet who has not died yet. He's been living for over 1,000 years like Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Al-Khidr has a lot of secrets from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the secret knowledge. And in the Quran it tells us about the story when Khidr alayhi salam was with Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Prophet Musa alayhi salam at that time had the outer knowledge of the Sharia. And Al-Khidr alayhi salam was sent by Allah to teach him the inner aspect of Sharia, the ta'weel of Sharia. This is what wilaya is. The Prophet tells Imam Ali alayhi salam that I will fight the people for the tanzeel of the Quran, the descent of the Quran, for the revelation of the Quran, and you will fight them for the ta'weel of the Quran, the inner meaning of the Quran. The Prophet's objective and his role is to give people the Sharia. The Sharia is the outer aspect of religion. He defines the parameters of religion. He says that this is Islam. If you enter this, you enter the fold of Islam. He gives us the parameters. The Imam's function is different. The Imam does ta'weel. The Imam goes into Islam and delves into the deeper meanings, and he brings them back to the original meaning that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll give you an example. The Quran itself, it's a book, right? And it's made up of words. When the Quran was revealed, it was revealed over 23 years over the Prophet's lifespan. And these verses came down according to certain events that happened. So the words are frozen in time. They tell us of events that occurred when those verses were revealed. The Imam alayhi salam's objective or role is to take that verse and to take it back to its original metaphysical point from where it came. So this divine truth, when it comes down into this world, it freezes, it takes a certain image. Just like a painter. If you're painting something, if you're drawing something, or if you're taking a picture with your phone. Let's use the painter example. You have an idea in your mind. You want to draw something that resembles, justice in this world. So you have an idea that's living in your mind. It's related to this concept of justice and your understanding of it. You begin to draw it on a canvas. As soon as you draw it, it freezes. It's not dynamic anymore. It's not moving like your thought is. Your thought is living. But the moment you finish the painting, it's done. It cannot represent anything else. This is exactly how it's manifested. But this painting is reflecting a dynamic idea that's in your mind. And this is how the reality of the Quran as well. This was why Socrates, you've heard of Socrates, right? He was a Greek philosopher. He refused to write down anything. He said, because as soon as I write down knowledge, it dies. The idea dies, it freezes. But you have to write down things so that we are able to understand and relate to them. So the Prophet brought down the Quran, and the Quran froze in that time. These truths, even though they're talking about outer events that happen, what they're reflecting is some divine truth that's beyond this event. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the story of Musa alayhi salam and the Khidr alayhi salam, He's telling us of some divine point, some metaphysical truth that He wants to make us aware of. But it came down in this word, it came down in this sentence. The Imam's role is to take that and to tell you how it's reflected in this time and age. He's always living, because this verse will take different meanings every single time. I'll give you an example. In one of the verses of the Quran, Allah says, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. Let man, or let the human being, look at his or her food. The Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, sallu ala Muhammad wa alayhi. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam tells us that the meaning of food here, it means let the person look where he's taking his knowledge from. It came in the word food, right? Because at that time, the event occurred where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted the individuals to look at the food where they're bringing it from. The Imam gave us another meaning. The meaning that was prevalent at that time, which was more important than the outer food, was your knowledge where you take it from. Because think about the time of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. That was a time when there was a lot of different schools of thought, a lot of scholars, a lot of theologians, a lot of historians, a lot of jurists. It was very important at that time for the individual, the Muslim, to know where they take their knowledge from. Don't take it from anybody, especially if it's knowledge related to God and related to your hereafter. Make sure you take it from a pure source. Don't take it from a corrupt source. Don't take it from a source that's mixed. So the Imam gives us the ta'weel of the Quran, the inner meaning, the original meaning as it applies to our contemporary situation. This is the knowledge that he has. So the Imam has Kumayl. He's walking with Kumayl. And Kumayl ibn Ziyad said, the commander of the faithful, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, took, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said he took me by the hand and led me out to the cemetery. Look at the master. The Imam goes to Kumayl, he takes his hand and he takes him to the cemetery. When he reached the open plain, he sighed deeply and then said, O Kumayl ibn Ziyad, these hearts are like vessels, and the best of them are those that hold the most. So remember well what I say to you. The Imam is preparing him, that your heart, try to expand it to carry more and more knowledge. The more we expand our heart, the more spiritual we become, the more knowledge we can carry, the more we can handle. The more constricted they are, the less we can carry, the lesser knowledge that we can handle. The Imam then tells Kumayl, people are of three types. Either a godly scholar, a student on the path of salvation, or the rabble, ignorant followers of every loud caller, swaying with every wind. They have not been illuminated by the light of knowledge, nor have they sought refuge in a firm support. The Imam says that the human beings, all of them fall under one of these three categories. Either they're godly scholars, or they are students on the path of salvation, they're trying to learn, they're trying to become godly, or they're like the rabble. People that are ignorant followers of every loud caller. Every time there's some movement, every time there's some trend, every time there's something that's going on in the world, whether it's something to do with your desire, something to do with your passions, you move with it. A new trend comes, you jump onto that. Another trend comes, you jump onto that. Another trend comes, you jump onto that. you have no stability, you have no goal, you have no lofty objective in your life. You move and you sway with every single wind that comes. This is the majority of the people. The Imam says that these are people who have not been illuminated by the light of knowledge. A person who is a person of knowledge, a person of learning, does not move with every movement that occurs around them. The Imam compares this individual to one that moves with the wind, meaning that they're not rooted in the ground in the truth. Like a tree. If you have a tree that has a strong trunk, is very well rooted in the ground, and the wind comes and a storm comes, it cannot remove that tree. It stands firm in its ground. But if you have a weak tree, or a weed or some plant that does not have strength, as soon as some wind comes, it moves with it. To the left, it goes left. To the right, it goes right. A strong wind comes, it uproots it. A person who is illuminated with knowledge in their heart is someone who is firm and rooted in haqq, in truth. Every time they hear something, it doesn't shake them. Why? Because they have strength in their iman. They have a firm foundation. They're very well rooted. They know what they want in this world, and they know what the truth is, so things don't move them around. If a trend comes, they know that this trend is nothing but a mere delusion that will act as if it gives me happiness or joy in this world, but it doesn't. True happiness is in the heart, not with these trends that are occurring. So they don't move with every single trend that comes. If it has truth in it, they go with it. If it doesn't, they reject it. They can see with the light of truth. They're not covered with darkness. The Imam tells him, he then continues by saying, "O Kumail, knowledge is better than wealth." Most of us people in this world, we go after wealth. As soon as we're born and we grow up a little bit, we go to school, everything we're being taught is how to have a good career, how to make good money, how to live the dream over here, right? This is what we define as success in this world. The Imam is trying, and this is not just peculiar to America, this is the human condition. We think that with wealth, we're going to have happiness in this life. Yes, wealth is important. The Imam is not dismissing the importance of wealth, because we have a lot of ahadith that the mu'mineen should not be poor people. If you're poor, you're going to suffer, your community will suffer. You don't have money to do things in this world, mashallah, like the center over here. If everybody here decided to forego their wealth and say, you know what, I don't want any wealth. I make $1 million, I want to give 999,000 away. I want to keep 1,000 every month. Can you build a center like this? You cannot, right? You're going to have to start taking loans from people, from non-Muslims, from people who are not believers. So you become subservient to them. In our ahadith, the mu'min should always strive to be independent of other people financially. Always. This is very important. We have a misconception that poverty is something that's recommended. This is not right. We don't have a hadith that praise poverty. How many du'as do we have where the Imam or the Prophet says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-faqr. Allah, I seek refuge in you from poverty. Imam Ali says, if poverty was a man, I would have killed him. Because poverty, it puts you in a very difficult situation. Yes, Allah tells us in one hadith that for some people, He knows that if He gives them wealth, they will be corrupted. So He gives them poverty. Not because poverty is good, but because there's goodness for this individual in poverty. Not that poverty is good. Poverty in itself is not a good thing. And in our dua, we also pray so many times, Ya Allah, don't make me in need of anyone. Right? So we have to work on this. We have to keep this in our mind. Wealth is very important in this dunya because with wealth, you're able to achieve certain worldly goals that lead to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It makes us have the best services in the community. Why not? Do we have to have a masjid with the terrible carpets, with a microphone that doesn't work? One masjid I went to, I don't want to say where it is because maybe people will figure out. I went there 3 or 4 years in a row. The first time I went, the microphone for the salat, if I want to recite Al-Fatiha, Bis, Allah, Rahim, that's how it comes out. Every 4 or 5 words, one comes out. The first time I went, I said, what's wrong with this microphone? This is terrible, even, trying to focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I can't even recite the thing properly, and people are going to get irritated. I didn't say anything the first year. The second year I come back, it's the same exact microphone. Same one. The third year, it's the same one. I said, what's wrong? I'm gonna donate a microphone to you guys. Like, you can't go buy a microphone? Such a simple thing. But maybe to them, they think if my microphone's not working, there's more thawab in it. Because it's a humble masjid, right? Or the person that buys a very old car, and every 2 days it doesn't turn on. He has to go to the mechanic. He thinks that Allah gives him more thawab. Why? Because he's humble in this dunya. Who said that the angels are looking at the car and seeing what model it is and recording, okay, he took him to the mechanic 5 times a week, he gets this much hasanat. No, this is causing you trouble in your life. If you can remove this trouble and focus on more important things, do that if Allah give you the means. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that wealth is a means to gain comfort, to bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the world, it's a means to gain dignity sometimes. Because if you're in need of another person or another community, you're going to be subservient to them. You're not going to have dignity, and the mu'min should be dignified. So every mu'min should be pushed towards being independent financially. Make as much as you can and give back to your community so that you serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Imam here is telling Kumail that he's not dismissing the importance of wealth, but he's saying that knowledge is more important than wealth. Yes, in the dunya we need wealth in order to achieve certain goals. And wealth can be used for the akhirah. But in reality, knowledge is the thing that is more important. He says that, O Kumail ibn Ziyad, knowledge is better than wealth. Knowledge guards you, whereas you guard your wealth. How beautiful. The Imam, in one sentence, he can capture such a deep, deep meaning. One sentence. That's why they say that the Imam is the Imam of language, Imam of words. When he speaks, there is the most eloquent way of speaking. Knowledge guards you, whereas you guard your wealth. A person who has knowledge, anybody who speaks to them, they know how to respond. They know how to reply. They are looked upon in a very high way, respected. It is what protects you. You're in trouble, your knowledge can get you out of trouble. You need help, knowledge can give you that help. Knowledge is what helps you. It guards you. A person without knowledge is going to fall into so much trouble and so much mistakes and won't know how to decide what to do in life. You make terrible decisions. So knowledge is very important because it is what protects you. Whereas your wealth, it doesn't protect you. You got to protect it. You have to make sure that your investments are working. You have to make sure that your money is not stolen. You have to make sure that no one's scamming you. You have to make sure this, you have to make sure that. You're the one who protects your wealth. But knowledge is what protects you. Wealth decreases when you spend it. You have $1 million, you buy a house for $300,000, how much do you have left? $700,000, right? When you spend wealth, it decreases. But knowledge grows when it is given. The more you give knowledge, the more it grows. The works done with wealth vanish when wealth is gone. But with knowledge, it continues and perpetuates. O Kumail ibn Ziyad, knowledge is a religion by which one is bound. Through it, a person earns obedience to God in his lifetime and a beautiful remembrance after his death. Knowledge rules while wealth is ruled over. Knowledge is what rules and governs, but wealth is what we rule and govern. O Kumail ibn Ziyad, the treasures of wealth perish while they are still alive, but the scholars remain as long as time endures. Their bodies are gone, but their likeness remains in the hearts of the people. A scholar, they remain living forever in the hearts of the people. But wealth, the people of wealth, they die with their wealth. Nobody remembers them anymore. Indeed, the Imam says, look at the Imam alayhi salam, and imagine the state in which he is saying this sentence over here. He says to Kumail, and he points to his chest. He says, Kumail, indeed, here is abundant knowledge. If only I could find carriers for it. But I find instead one who is quick-witted, but not trustworthy, using the tools of religion for worldly gain, taking God's blessings as a means over his servants, and as proofs as a means against his friends. The Imam is complaining to Kumail. There is so much knowledge here. The Prophet tells us that Imam Ali was taught, he's the city of knowledge. And he's the gate of knowledge, and from every gate, 1,000 gates are opened. The vast knowledge that the Imam has. But he says, and he's complaining to him, if only I can find someone who is willing to carry some of this knowledge. In another hadith with Kumail ibn Ziyad, the Imam gives him a different type of description about his knowledge. He says that whatever overflows from me, you receive. Like a bucket of water the Imam has, what you receive, Kumail, and what people receive are whatever's overflowing from this bucket. Imagine Imam who had access to the water itself in the bucket. The deep knowledge of Tawheed the Imam knew. But he lived in a world where he was alone and isolated because there was no one there to carry this knowledge and understand it. To the point that the Imam ﷺ used to go to the well and he used to complain to the well, to speak and hear the echo of himself. Because those who were surrounding him were a lot of ignorant people. Nobody understood the value of the Imam. When he stood up one day and told the people, ask me before you leave me, before you lose me. The Imam is telling the people, there's knowledge here and I need to give it to people. All you have to do is ask. Ask me before you lose me. One person stands up and tells the Imam, how many hairs do I have in my head? Look at it. What kind of low person do you have to be? What kind of ignorant individual you have to be? The Imam is telling you, he tells them, I know the paths of heaven more than I know the paths of the world over here. I'm more aware of the ghaib, the unseen, than I am of this world over here. Ask me anything and I'll tell you. He tells them, how many hairs do I have on my head? Imagine. So the Imam, this is part of the suffering of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. It's not only that they were attacked by people and they were killed, but there was no one around them who was able to take this knowledge from them. They mistreated them, they didn't understand their value. And we as their followers, we have to work on understanding their value. Not just take them on a very superficial level. Deeply connect with the Imam alayhi salam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll continue with the rest of this hadith and we'll delve into a bit more detail about the segments which the Imam is talking about and explain them in more detail. Tonight, I want to delve into the musibah of Al-Qasim alayhi salam. Al-Qasim was the son of Imam Al-Hasan alayhi salam. We all know that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt were killed, either poisoned or killed by sword. Imam Al-Hasan alayhi salam was poisoned by his wife, and he had children that the Imam Hussein alayhi salam had taken to take care of. Before Imam Hassan alayhi salam's martyrdom, his passing away from this world, he was poisoned and he was suffering from the poison. He gave his children to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and he said, "Oh brother, these are my children, please watch over them for me. They don't have a father anymore, now you have become their father." Al-Qasim alayhi salam, being orphaned, was taken care of by his uncle Hussein alayhi salam. But in Karbala, Al-Qasim was a very young infant. The ahadith say that he was around 12 or 13 years old, and he had not yet reached puberty. Imagine Imam Hussein alayhi salam taking Al-Qasim, who he was supposed to protect and take care of after the martyrdom of his brother. Now he has to present him to the battlefield. Al-Qasim alayhi salam was ready to support his uncle Hussein and had trained for this battle like the bravest of warriors. The family of Rasulullah were known to be the bravest of warriors alive. He was the grandson of Imam Ali alayhi salam. raised in the household of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and had become complete in his character, his faith, and his steadfastness. He was a model for the seekers of God and the lovers of gaining proximity to Him. One night before Ashura, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam gave glad tidings to the martyrs of his companions, Al-Qasim came to his uncle Hussein and asked him, "Oh, Uncle Hussein, am I also going to be one of those who are martyred on your path?" The Imam alayhi salam, wanting to test Al-Qasim to see what understanding he has, what level of faith he says, "Oh Qasim, oh my dear Qasim, how do you find the taste of death?" He's asking a 12-year-old, "Al-Qasim, how do you find the taste of death?" Al-Qasim says, "By Allah, my uncle, dying in your cause is sweeter to me than honey." Al-Hussein, knowing that Al-Qasim had reached that level of yaqeen, and he reached that level of faith and iman, he gave him glad tidings, and he told him, "Yes, Al-Qasim, you are going to be martyred alongside my companions and my household." After the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam were martyred, and the brave men of Banu Hashim had gone forth, those suckled on valor and raised on courage, including Ali al-Akbar and other youths of the family, Al-Qasim heard Al-Hussein, his uncle, crying out, "Wa ghurbatah, wa qillata nasirah." Oh, for estrangement, oh, for the fewness of helpers. هل من ناصر ينصرنا? Is there any helper to aid us? هل من معين يعيننا? Is there anyone to come to our support? هل من ذاب يذب عنا? Is there anyone to come and defend us? Al-Qasim came rushing to his uncle saying, "At your service, my master, oh my uncle, Aba Abdullah." When Imam Hussein alayhi salam looked at Al-Qasim, he saw that he resembled his father Al-Hassan. He remembered Al-Hassan alayhi salam. He embraced Al-Qasim, he hugged him, and he wept until he fainted. It is said that this is the only time that the Imam had cried, until he fainted. He woke up from his faint. Al-Qasim asked for permission to fight. He said, "Oh uncle, I can no longer bear to remain while I see my cousins and brothers slaughtered, and I see you alone and deserted without any helper." Imam Hussein alayhi salam said, "Oh my nephew, you are the trust of my brother. You are his legacy. How can I let you go?" But Al-Qasim continued kissing the feet and the hands of his uncle, pleading to Hussein, "Please let me fight on your path." The Imam then says to him, "My son Qasim, I see you walking toward death with your own feet." Al-Qasim replies, "Why would I not walk to death with my own feet? When you are left alone among the enemies with no helper or aid, may my soul be sacrificed for yours." Then Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, "My son Qasim, come to me." He brought him into the tent. He opened the chest that belonged to his poisoned brother Imam Hassan, containing his sword, his turban, and his battle garments. He dressed Al-Qasim in the clothes of his father as if in a shroud. He wrapped the turban around his head, broke its tail into two, and let them hang down. Then he gave him the sword of his brother, and before sending off, he said, "Al-Qasim, before you go, there's one more thing that you have to do. Go to the ladies' tents and bid them farewell. Bid your mother and sisters farewell." They say that Sukaina, when she saw him, she clung on to him, and his aunt Zainab kissed his throat, and his mother came running out of the tents in shock. Al-Qasim then descended to the battlefield with tears streaming down his cheeks, fighting like a brave warrior. Some were astonished at Al-Qasim. Who is this youth that is fighting like a lion? Al-Qasim replied with this poetry, إن تنكروني فأنا نجل الحسن. If you do not know me, I am the son of Al-Hasan, صبط النبي المجتبى والمؤتمن, the grandson of the prophet, the chosen, the trusted. هذا حسين كالأسير المرتهن. This is Hussein, held like a captive amongst you. بين أناس لا أسوق صوب المزن. Surrounded by people who deserve no rain from the heavens. Al-Qasim then came out. Hamid ibn Muslim, a narrator, tells us that Al-Qasim came out with a face shining like a moon. In his hand was a sword, and he wore a shirt and pants, and on his feet were sandals. But as Al-Qasim was fighting, the strap of his left sandal broke. Al-Qasim bent down to fix it, fearless and unaware of the army surrounding him. Umar ibn Sa'd ibn Nufayl al-Asdi said, by God, I will attack this youth and grieve his mother. I said to him, enough, he is already surrounded and overwhelmed. But he attacked Al-Qasim, and he struck him on his head, and he split his head and skull. Al-Qasim fell to the ground, screaming, Ya Hussein, peace be upon you, my uncle, come to me.
إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, by the rights of Al-Qasim, by the rights of his youth, the young age, that he did not live in this world to grow. He died as a young infant. We ask you, by his martyrdom, by his oppression, to forgive all our sins, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, everybody in this majlis has a need, Ya Allah. Each and every one of us, we have a request, we have needs in our lives. We pray to you, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask you by the rights of Al-Qasim to quickly answer their prayers, to grant them their wishes and grant them their needs. Anybody who's asked us for dua, Ya Allah, grant them what they have asked for. Ya Allah, anyone who is sick in this majlis, anyone who is sick and asked us for the dua, please grant them shifa, Ya Allah. Grant them cureness, remove their ailments, remove their pain, remove their suffering, Ya Allah, by the rights of Al-Qasim alayhi salam. Ya Allah, we have distant relatives, we have people who are not near us, some people who have traveled. Ya Allah, bring them back safely to us. Ya Allah, protect all the mu'mineen and the mu'minat. And we send the thawab of this majlis, the rewards of this majlis, to the deceased of those who are present here, and the deceased of their relatives, and to the deceased of all mu'mineen and mu'minat, alongside the reward of Al-Fatiha ma'a salati ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Hussein, 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 Hussein.
On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least
Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein,
Least of all Hussein.
O lovers of Hassan, come near, as I narrate to you his death. He was left to defend the Imam and to protect the deen of Islam. So Qasim approaches Hussein in a moment of tremendous pain. The rose of Hassan has to fight, but how can Hussein risk his life? On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussein, everyone, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein,
Least of all Hussein.
He was of his brother a trust. Hussein could not see him in dust. O Qasim, my son, take a breath. I ask you, how do you view death? His answer we must always keep. His answer caused angels to weep. You know, uncle, I love honey, but death is sweeter than honey. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussein,
Least of all Hussein.
least of all Hussein.
Least of all Hussein.
He was of his brother a trust. Hussein could not see him in dust. O Qasim, my son, take a breath. I ask you, how do you view death? His answer we must always keep. His answer caused angels to weep. You know, uncle, I love honey, but death is sweeter than honey.
On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one
Everyone.
that he died. Least of all Hussein,
Least of all Hussein.
least of all Hussein.
Least of all Hussein.
So, but least of all Hussein.
Least of all Hussein.
Said Mawla, O Qasim, my pride, for women you must stay behind. So Qasim goes back to his camp, his face full of tears and so damp. His mother said, why do you cry? He said, for Hussein I can die. Farwa pulled out a letter, hoping that this would make things better. When Mawla saw who it was from, his entire body went numb. He had to let Qasim go fight. The young nephew's face became rough. Hussein gave him turban and cloak. Seeing him, ladies, Zainab broke. To aunties and mother farewell, as Qasim comes out of his shell. To aunties and mother farewell, as Qasim comes out of his shell. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Everyone, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein. The lion of Hassan so brave, he sent 35 to the grave. Then Qasim, his armor so large, saw cowardly enemies charge. They struck Qasim from every side. Oh, uncle, help me, Qasim cried. They ripped his young body apart and struck right at his uncle's heart. Oh, Qasim, your call is still loud. We always want to make you proud. Oh, Qasim, your call is still loud. We always want to make you proud. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Everyone, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
O the son of Batul and Ali Murtada, you are Sibte Rasool, Ya Hasan Mujtaba. O the son of Batul and Ali Murtada, you are Sibte Rasool, Ya Hasan Mujtaba. You were called an Imam by Rasool-e-Khuda, and beside Al-Hussein you were Abna'ana. You were called an Imam by Rasool-e-Khuda, and beside Al-Hussein you were Abna'ana. We are gathered for you, Rabi-e Panjatan. We are gathered for you, Rabi-e Panjatan. As-salam unto you, O Imam-e Hasan, O the son of Batul and Ali Murtada. You are Sibte Rasool, Ya Hasan Mujtaba. Every battle you fought is your witness, Imam. Whether Siffin it is or it is Nahrawan, every battle you fought is your witness, Imam. Whether Siffin it is or it is Nahrawan, when you lifted the sword, Tani-e Murtada, when you lifted the sword, Tani-e Murtada, when you lifted the veil, Cherri Mustafa, O the son of Batul and Ali Murtada. You are Sibte Rasool, Ya Hasan Mujtaba. Though the chosen Imam, you would still abdicate For the Ummah you right unto the Caliphate. Though the chosen Imam, you would still abdicate. For the Ummah you right unto the Caliphate. But you penned in the truth in your treaty, Imam. But you penned in the truth in your treaty, Imam. So we see the sinister evil of Sham. Oh, the son of Batul and Ali Murtada, you are Sibte Rasool, Ya Hasan Mujtaba. As the people were drawn to your ilm sakha, you were poisoned again and again in Jaffa. As the people were drawn to your ilm sakha, you were poisoned again and again in Jaffa. But the venom would fail when you got your shifa. But the venom would fail when you got your shifa. From the touch of the grave of Rasul-e-Khuda, oh, the son of Batul and Ali Murtada, you are Sibte Rasool, Ya Hasan Mujtaba.
What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? How do you cope with this great torment, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? Did you see On and Muhammad fight so brave and bold? Did you see On and Muhammad fight so brave and bold? For Allah they sacrificed their lives, the truth to uphold. What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did Qasim call out as he fell down onto the floor? What did Qasim call out as he fell down onto the floor? If only Shabar could see his son martyred in war. What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see when the alarm fell, when the water spilled? What did you see when the alarm fell, when the water spilled? Where are those hands of Uncle Abbas? His mission unfulfilled. What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? Did you see the tiny cradle shake, hearing Halman? Did you see the tiny cradle shake, hearing Halman? Where is your brother Ali Asghar, his life yet to begin? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you hear in Yazid's palace when Zainab spoke? What did you hear in Yazid's palace when Zainab spoke? Did he not know that your pure family were under the cloak? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see in the court of Sham? Heads on display. What did you see in the court of Sham? Heads on display. The story of Ashura is in our minds each a day. What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? Oh, what happened to the protectors of the veil of Zainab? What happened to the protectors of the veil of Zainab? She did endure such a tragedy, her strength and sabr. What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e-Sajjad? How did you cope with this great torment, Imam-e-Sajjad? Hussein, Hussein,
Hussein, Hussein, Hussein, Hussein, Hussein, Hussein, Hussein, Hussein, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
متوجه زيارات. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن السيد الوصين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا سائر الشهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس. السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس السلام عليك يا مدفون بأرض طوس راضي بالقدر والقضاء علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان السلام عليك يا قابة الإيمان وإمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله.
All the young ones, please come and give your salams to the Sheikh. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll have the Majlis at the same time. Right